Some names echo through history for their infamy, a dark legacy we won't even dignify with airtime. But what about the brilliant women whose names should echo, yet have been silenced? Today on HerStance, we confront the deliberate erasure of women from history, a practice described by feminist writers Anita Sarkeesian and Laura Hudson as not only discouraging women from achieving great things, but diminishing or crediting their accomplishments to men when they do. This isn't just an oversight. It's a phenomenon with a name, the Matilda Effect. Join us as we uncover who Matilda was and explore shocking examples of women's erasure that will leave you both disbelieving and determined to rewrite history. Welcome to HerStance, where it is our mission to empower and inspire action by amplifying the stories of historical female trailblazers. Please take a moment to subscribe on YouTube, give this podcast 5 stars on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or at my website, herstancepodcast.buzzsprout.com. Your input and sharing your thoughts will go a long way to getting more listeners and viewers activated. I also would love for you to follow me on Instagram at HerStanceWithSandra. There you will find my Linktree HerStance link to sign up for my monthly newsletter, download digital products, and more. Now, let's meet the woman who inspired the term the Matilda Effect, Matilda Jocelyn Gage. She was famously called the woman who was ahead of the women who were ahead of their time, and you're about to hear exactly why. Born in 1826 in Cicero, New York, Matilda was practically destined for activism. Her mother was a passionate historical researcher, and her father, a staunch abolitionist, even made their family home a station on the Underground Railroad. Now, a quick side trip here for anyone new to American history. The Underground Railroad was a secret network in the pre-Civil War U.S. where brave Northerners defied the Fugitive Slave Acts to help enslaved people escape to freedom in the North or Canada. It was a truly remarkable act of defiance, and I'll drop a link in the show notes if you want to dive deeper into how it operated. Well, Matilda's father even taught her anatomy and physiology, preparing her for medical school. But despite attending a coeducational preparatory school, she hit a frustrating roadblock. She was denied admission to medical school simply because she was a woman. Sound familiar? In 1845, she married Henry Gage, a dry goods merchant. They settled in Fayetteville, New York, raised 5 children, and guess what? Matilda continued her father's legacy, opening their home to those fleeing slavery, despite the very real risks of harsh penalties. And by the 1850s, Matilda found her voice through the pen, writing for newspapers. Her passionate advocacy for women's rights truly ignited with her speech at the Third National Women's Convention in Syracuse in 1852. When the Civil War broke out, she supported Union soldiers by hosting fundraisers for military hospitals. And then in 1869, she helped found the New York State Women's Suffrage Association and served as its president for 9 years. She was truly a force. But here's where Matilda really shines a light on our theme of erasure. In 1870, she penned a groundbreaking article in the North American Review titled "Woman as an Inventor." In it, she meticulously documented how countless groundbreaking inventions over thousands of years were credited to men, or had their patents claimed by husbands, denying women the recognition and the financial reward they truly deserved. As she boldly stated in the article, quote, although women's scientific education has been grossly neglected, yet some of the most important inventions of the world are due to her. Honorable Samuel Fisher, while Commission of Patents, said any sketch of American inventions would be imperfect which failed to do justice to their part taken by woman. Unquote. She brought to light incredible examples. The art of spinning, attributed to Yao, wife of the fourth Chinese emperor. The discovery of silk, credited to Si-Ling Chi, wife of Emperor Haong Ti, an astonishing 4,000 years before Christ. Matilda went into great detail about the economic impact of silk and its intricate lacework, highlighting how civilizations and nations profited immensely from these female innovations. Then fast forward to the American Revolutionary period and the cotton gin. Many of us think of Eli Whitney, right? But Matilda reveals that Catherine Littlefield Greene was the true inventor, and her second husband took out the patent to protect her from ridicule and social ostracization. Her list was extensive. Improvements in spark arresters for locomotives, a danger signal for railway crossings, a chain elevator, a portable reservoir for fires, a pamphlet trimming machine, a deep sea telescope, a bag folding machine, and the list goes on. Matilda's powerful conclusion? Quote, the darkness of the world kept more dense, and its civilization retarded by all forms of thought, customs of society, or systems of law which prevent the full development and exercise of woman's inventive powers. Unquote. You can read this incredible article in its entirety, and I'll include a link in the show notes. It is truly eye-opening. Matilda was, without a doubt, at the forefront of the women's suffrage movement. She worked closely with iconic figures like Susan B. Anthony and Elizabeth Cady Stanton, and together they compiled the first 3 volumes of the monumental 6-volume History of Woman Suffrage. Now here is where Matilda truly lived up to her reputation of being ahead of her time and diverged from some of her peers. While other suffrage groups focused solely on getting the vote, Matilda firmly believed that the church itself was inherently patriarchal. So she took a bold step and formed the Women's National Liberal Union, or WNLU. She dedicated the rest of her life to advocating for even broader social reforms, writing for the WNLU journal, The Liberal Thinker, and making powerful public speeches. For example, at the unveiling of the Statue of Liberty in 1886, Matilda spoke out, protesting the sheer hypocrisy of celebrating liberty for all when women were still denied fundamental freedoms. In 1893, she published Woman, Church, and State, a groundbreaking work that fiercely critiqued what she saw as the deep-seated patriarchy and misogyny within religious teachings. In this book, she didn't shy away from praising Presbyterians for ordaining female deacons, exposing sexual abuse of children and women by priests, and decrying sex trafficking in the United States. She even highlighted Native American communities as powerful examples of societies where women and men were treated with true equality. And alongside 24 other women, Matilda contributed to the Woman's Bible in 1895, offering feminist interpretations of biblical verses. Matilda also consistently spoke out against the U.S. federal government's treatment of Native Americans. She publicly criticized the poor conditions faced by the Haudenosaunee, or Iroquois, and other Native nations in the New York Evening Post and in her speeches. Her genuine advocacy and deep desire for their lives to improve led to a remarkable honor. In 1893, she was honorably adopted into the Wolf Clan of the Mohawk Nation. Matilda Jocelyn Gage continued her tireless work, advocating for all oppressed groups until her passing from a stroke on March 18, 1898. Her dozens of publications, her powerful speeches, and her unwavering activism truly carved a path for future radical feminists, reminding us all of the vital importance of seeking out the stories that history tried to erase. So, we've explored the life of Matilda Jocelyn Gage, a woman truly ahead of her time. Now, let's fast forward to the 1990s and meet the academic historian who finally gave a name to the historical injustices Matilda fought against, Margaret Rossiter. Margaret was on a mission, a passionate quest to unearth the lives of forgotten women in science, astronomers, physicists, chemists, entomologists, botanists, across all scientific and engineering fields. Her goal wasn't just to reveal their stories, but to push for reforms in academic institutions, making them more welcoming to women, and to boost funding for women's representation and advancement in STEM degrees. It was in this powerful context that she coined the phrase, the Matilda Effect, a term that perfectly captures this increasingly recognized phenomenon of women's work being systematically overlooked and erased from history. And it wasn't just history books ignoring women. Rossiter herself documented the ongoing bias. In her 2013 paper, The Matilda Effect in Science Communication, she reported a startling finding. Both men and women consistently judged research papers by men to be stronger than those by women. What's more, both men and women showed a clear preference for male authors as potential future collaborators. We've actually talked about this very issue on HerStance before, haven't we? The historical necessity for women to use male or gender-neutral pen names just to get their work taken seriously. Think of George Sand or even J.K. Rowling. And let's not forget the long fight for women to even own their inventions. U.S. patents weren't even offered to women until the Patent Act of 1790, and the first patent granted to a woman, Mary Dixon Keyes, for a method of weaving straw with silk or thread, didn't come until 1809. But here's what's truly astonishing. In 1969, at Yale University, Margaret Rossiter was told by her professors with absolute certainty that there had been no women involved in scientific research up to that point. Let that sink in for a moment. This was in her own lifetime, while she was a graduate student in history at a prestigious institution. We here at HerStance know for a fact this simply isn't true. Essentially, for millennia, women had been erased, discounted, and discredited from their profound contributions to science, society, and commerce. This revelation made Margaret wonder, if I was around in the 19th century, would they even look at me? Everything they were reading about focused on white men, and some of her professors were even openly against co-education. So Margaret decided to do her own looking. While most history books at the time were silent on women's scientific contributions, she unexpectedly stumbled upon evidence of their existence in the American Men of Science, essentially the who's who of the era. and this was her first clue. She eventually unearthed even more details, including the rampant discrimination women faced, hidden away in dusty boxes of documents and letters in college archives. Quote, "Our whole system was sort of rigged against them," Rossiter observed about the women from the 1990s she studied who dared to pursue science. She continued, "You hardly ever found a man or anybody who encouraged them. And then even an older woman would say, well, if you want a job, you should go into home economics. Give up geology. It may be your passion, but there's no future." Unquote. Can you imagine being told that your passion had no future just because you were a woman? For a decade, Rossiter's incredible archival discoveries fueled her across the country, searching for more untold stories. She unearthed the scientific accomplishments of hundreds of women. After navigating numerous procedural obstacles and a struggle to secure funding, when applying for grants in the 1970s, the National Science Foundation actually asked her, what impact would this have? No one ever asked that when studying men's contributions. She finally compiled these narratives into a monumental 3-volume work, Women Scientists in America, published in 1982, 1995, and 2012. These books shed crucial light on the many ways women advanced science, as well as the systemic ways they were pushed out of the field and ultimately left out of the history books. Despite her groundbreaking work, permanent academic recognition was slow to come. Finally, in the mid-1980s, a 1-year visiting professorship for women at Cornell turned into 2. In 1989, she was even awarded a MacArthur Fellowship, a prestigious genius grant. Believe it or not, even after all this, the administrators at Cornell still weren't quite inspired to offer her a permanent position. But the University of Georgia certainly was. They reached out with an offer of a tenure-track position and an endowed chair, a permanently funded, lifetime academic position. However, thanks to a very savvy Cornell trustee, Patricia Cary Stewart, a 1950 Cornell alumna, things were about to change for the better. Stewart was not happy about losing such a brilliant mind and incredible scholar to another institution. So she called up the president of Cornell and firmly stated that a space needed to be created for Rossiter, even if it meant creating an entirely new department, a notion that hadn't even occurred to the deans or anyone else. They hadn't created a new department since the 1960s. And just like that, Margaret Rossiter got an endowed chair at Cornell, where she remained for the rest of her career in the new Department of Science and Technology Studies. Her impact there and on the study of women in science is still profoundly felt today. And finally, let's take a moment to truly appreciate the woman who ensured Margaret Rossiter's brilliance stayed at Cornell, Patricia Cary Stewart. Pat, as she was known, graduated from Cornell with a degree in French and linguistics at a time when women were just beginning to redefine their place in post-World War II society. She was, in every sense, a groundbreaker herself. Pat began her career as a foreign correspondent for the Irving Trust Company. Later, she rose to become a partner and then president of the New York Stock Exchange firm Buckner and Company, making her one of the very few women leaders on Wall Street at that time. Throughout her impressive lifetime, she served on numerous corporate boards, And it said she was an incredibly astute businesswoman who had little patience for incompetence and always expected others to rise to the occasion. But what truly made Pat exceptional was her unwavering commitment to sharing her expertise and paving the way for others. She was a powerful role model and established groups of other successful, engaging women at Cornell to mentor students and faculty, all to raise awareness of women's capabilities and create pathways for more women leaders. She founded the President's Council of Cornell Women, dedicated to advancing the involvement and leadership of Cornell alumni in supporting women's issues and gender equality. Since its founding, this council has brought together 1,100 members and has provided over $340 million in funding to Cornell. And with scholarships now established in her name, Pat Stewart's legacy continues to pay it forward for women for generations to come. And what about Margaret Rossiter today? She's now 78 and was retired as the Marie Underhill Knoll Emerita Professor of the History of Science in the College of Arts and Sciences at Cornell University. What an incredible career. But as Margaret herself reminds us, our work isn't over. Even with a dedicated Women's History Month and all the advances we've seen, the need to uncover these stories persists. As she wisely stated, even now, there's a lot of minority women we don't know about. There's nooks and crannies you can read more about. So, my friends, we will continue our work right here on HerStance. We will keep correcting misconceptions, reattributing inventions that were wrongly credited, and most importantly, uncovering the countless hidden gems created by women that truly make our world go around. It's time their stories were told. It's the HerStance Challenge. Here's a little quiz to get us started. What do the windshield wiper, the game of Monopoly, and the circular saw all have in common? You guessed it, they all were created by women, but commonly attributed to men. The Monopoly game was originally a game called the Landlord's Game, invented by Elizabeth Magie in 1904 to serve as a critique on monopolistic capitalism and land ownership. We're talking economics and social commentary here. No wonder we were always so frustrated by those who understood the game and brought us to bankruptcy. The circular saw was patented to Tabitha Babbitt in 1813. Somehow a power tool always gets associated with a man. Think the sitcom Tool Time, right? Well, we've talked today about not only the misattributions, but the very erasure of women's contributions to our world. Today's challenge is to be aware that women's erasure happens. This has been a societal norm for hundreds, if not thousands of years. So constant self-assessment is crucial to catching unintended erasure. How can we do that? Well, give credit where credit is due. Teach our children and youth about the accomplishments of women. As co-founder of the Georgette Sand Collective, Margaret Nebelstein states, "If we grow up with a history in which women are absent, and we do not study the work of a single female author or a single female scientist, it makes sense that we will end up thinking that there were not, are not, and will not be anyone other than men in history." Representation matters to our youth. Teaching our next generation and the contributions of women not only empower our young girls to seek currently male-dominated careers, but also fosters respect and equity in young boys that understand the contributions of women around the world. I'm going to put a list of resources in my online store for you to download at the Linktree link in the show notes. So have fun reading, watching, or listening to the books, movies, and podcasts from the digital download. Once we recognize our own unconscious bias and change the narratives we use, a ripple effect occurs. Thanks for being a part of the HerStance movement. HerStance is written, hosted, and produced by me, Sandra Cayley. References used in the research of this episode are listed in the show notes. Episodes are released every 2 weeks. Like and share this podcast. I sure appreciate your action. Until next time.